Hello everyone, and welcome to my podcast. Today's topic is narcissism, and I'm sure that you've been hearing this word a lot lately. Many people are using it in labeling others as narcissists. And honestly, I feel that I'm using it a lot as well. Because I'm seeing narcissistic behavior a lot. Like shit. Once you know the narcissistic behaviors, you start seeing it as clear as day. But also, I try not to label people as narcissists and instead call the behavior narcissistic. Because one, I don't like to label people or judge too fast. And two, I, as a coach, cannot diagnose someone with narcissism. Only licensed mental health professionals like psychiatrists, psychologists, or clinical therapists can diagnose someone with NPD, Narcissistic Personality Disorder, using criteria from DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. But NPD is the extreme of the spectrum because a lot of people exhibit narcissistic behavior and have narcissistic traits. But it's not so extreme to the degree that it's a mental disorder. So one can ask, what's the difference between NPD and narcissism? So I'll try to differentiate between NPD and narcissism by reading the definitions that are provided online and commonly in books. So, as per Mayo Clinic, Narcissistic Personality Disorder is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. But behind this mask of extreme confidence, they are not sure of their self-worth and are easily upset by the slightest criticism. So this was the definition of NPD, the disorder itself. Now the definition of narcissism as per Google AI overview, and I used Google AI because I didn't find a proper definition of narcissism from other sources. For NPD, it's available, but not narcissism on its own. So it says that narcissism is a personality style and a spectrum of traits characterized by an excessive preoccupation with oneself, a grandiose sense of self-importance, and a lack of empathy for others' needs and feelings. Then it goes on to say, while everyone may exhibit narcissistic behaviors sometimes, true narcissism involves a deep need for admiration, a sense of entitlement, and manipulative tendencies that damage relationships. In its extreme form, it can manifest as narcissistic personality disorder, a clinical mental health condition that affects all aspects of a person's life. So they pretty much go on to talk about NPD. Then, as per ChatGPT, narcissism is a personality dimension that includes self-focus, strong self-regard, a desire for admiration, and sometimes exploitativeness. It exists on a spectrum from healthy self-esteem and confidence to more extreme attention-seeking attitudes. Alright, so there are multiple points that I want to make here. First of all, is that the definitions are very similar. So how can one differentiate between them? We understand that NPD can only be diagnosed by a professional, but what about narcissism? So, since narcissism is not a diagnosis, once we understand the traits, we can spot them. So anyone can spot them, whether in others or in ourselves. But usually, people with narcissistic traits think so highly of themselves to the extent that they don't see it, even when they reflect, and that's if they reflect upon themselves. And if they do see it, then they most probably will not admit it. So today, in this episode, I'll be listing the narcissistic traits so that they are easier to spot. Some are already in the definition, but there's still more to it. So bear with me. Additionally, there is a test one can take to identify the degree of narcissism they have. Now, this tool is for research only and should not be used for diagnosis. is called Narcissistic Personality Inventory. You can find it online or you can reach out to me and I'll send it to you. The test consists of 40 pairs of statements. For each pair, you should select the one that you feel best reflects your personality. This test is also available in the book Surrounded by Narcissists by Thomas Erikson. And he says that those who score over 25 qualify as narcissists. But he also finds it difficult to believe that a genuine narcissist would actually respond truthfully. And I agree. As you're reading the statements, you can easily identify which one is the narcissistic one. So you won't choose them. And therefore, you would score lower in order not to be judged. But if you really wanted to know your true score, just be honest with yourself and don't show it to anyone. Keep it for yourself. It's fine. Be honest with yourself, and if you don't like the results, then do something about it. Work on yourself. And anyway, those who would score high may not even want to take the test if someone like their partner suggests that they take it. Or they do take it and lie through it just to prove their partner wrong. The second point I want to make regarding the definitions is that in the definition of NPD, Narcissistic Personality Disorder, it is said that behind this mask of extreme confidence, they are not sure of their self-worth and are easily upset by the slightest criticism. So I looked into it further to check if all those who are diagnosed with NPD have deep insecurity, and turns out the answer is yes, they all do. But not all who exhibit narcissistic traits have this sense of deep insecurity. Some are just confident, ambitious, or expressive, without insecurity underneath. And as per ChatGPT, there is healthy narcissism and unhealthy narcissism. So they say that healthy narcissism is a solid sense of self, confidence, ambition, and pride in achievements. These people may look narcissistic at times, seeking admiration, enjoying the spotlight, but it's grounded in genuine self-worth, not insecurity. Meanwhile, in unhealthy narcissism, some people use arrogance or attention-seeking as a defense, which does point back to insecurity, but not always at the depth and persistence seen in a clinical disorder. This brings me to my third point, which is regarding healthy narcissism. I don't like associating the word healthy with narcissism. And this is just my personal opinion, because as apparent by the definition of narcissism, the one given by ChatGPT, it says it exists on a spectrum from healthy self-esteem and confidence to more extreme attention-seeking attitudes. This implies that healthy self-esteem and confidence are narcissistic. And there are also other sources that start the spectrum of narcissism from healthy self-esteem to full-on NPD, which I disagree with. I don't think that having a healthy self-esteem and being confident makes you a narcissist. Having a healthy self-esteem and knowing your value, knowing what you can bring to the table and what you can't, is healthy and shouldn't be associated with narcissism. So is being confident. I would say the spectrum can start from being arrogant instead of being confident. And I don't know if there is a clear agreed upon spectrum other than agreeing that yes, it is a spectrum, because people show narcissism in different degrees and not all have the same narcissistic traits. But yeah, in my opinion, anything healthy shouldn't be associated with narcissism. So yes, use arrogance instead of confidence, because there is a huge difference between arrogance and confidence, and I'll tell you about it. Confidence is rooted in self-assurance. A confident person has a realistic understanding of their strengths and weaknesses. Arrogance is rooted in insecurity. Arrogance often masks self-doubt with exaggeration or superiority. Confident people are open to learning. They're willing to admit mistakes and grow from them. Arrogant people are closed to feedback. Arrogant people tend to dismiss criticism or alternative views. Confidence has a calm presence. Confidence doesn't need to shout. Instead, it is steady behavior and body language. Arrogance has a showy presence. Arrogance seeks to impress, often loudly, to validate itself. Confidence respects others. Confident people can celebrate others' success without feeling threatened. Arrogance disrespects others. They put others down to feel elevated. Confidence is inspirational. Their self-belief encourages and uplifts those around them, while arrogance is alienating. Instead of inspiring, arrogance pushes people away. So you already see the narcissistic traits in arrogance, but not in confidence. And I'm making this a point because I don't want people to see confidence as a bad trait. We want partners, friends, and kids who are confident. And we want to encourage them to be confident. And of course, we want to be confident as well. It's something great. It's not arrogance. But again, that's my personal opinion. They might have their reasons to start the spectrum from healthy traits. Anyway, they are the experts on this topic. So that's why I'm just pointing out that it's my personal opinion. But going back to my second point, since I don't consider healthy narcissism as narcissism, I believe that all those who exhibit narcissistic behavior or have narcissistic traits have deep insecurities. Maybe not as deep as those with the disorder, but it's coming from an insecurity. And it's normal, we all have insecurities. But that doesn't mean that we all are narcissistic. If we are aware of our insecurities, we know that they trigger us and that they would usually make us respond in a defensive way. So we can choose to respond in a different way. Okay, so now let's go into these narcissistic traits to raise awareness and help you spot them. Firstly, they are very charismatic people. They intentionally grab attention and like to be seen as special, as impressive, as someone to look up to. And they tend to be loud and showy about it. So this helps you spot them easily. But be careful. If someone is charismatic, it doesn't mean that they are automatically narcissistic. Because leaders can be charismatic. But leaders are so far away from narcissism. Because great leaders are empathetic. And narcissistic people usually don't have empathy. So if your manager or head or CEO is narcissistic, that means they are bosses, they're not leaders. 2, they believe that they are better than others. More important, more beautiful, more intelligent, the fittest, the best dressed, the wealthiest, the most successful in whatever area they care about. They are just the best, okay? And when a person thinks that they are more important than others or the most important in the room or in the building, that means it's okay for them to show disrespect to others. As in, my opinion matters more than yours. What I say goes. My time is important. Yours isn't. My work is great. Yours, I will criticize and put down. And that's the third point. They are very critical of others and put others down to show their superiority, to show that they are better. Because they are insecure about themselves and their work or their intelligence. So in order to feel superior, they need to put others down. And they do not accept criticism or feedback. They want to give it, yes, but they don't want to hear it. They won't accept it. They will get defensive and deflect it and make you wrong. And yeah, they don't like to be wrong or admit mistakes or take accountability for anything wrong that they did. They will justify it and make you wrong instead. And they very rarely apologize. 4, they care so much about how they are seen by others. And by the way, a lot of women who are married to narcissistic men have a difficulty in finding someone who would believe them, to believe that their husband is narcissistic, because he seems amazing to others. Like, you are lucky to have him. What are you talking about? Because again, he is charming and also manipulative. So people can't see it. They only see what he shows them. Of course, there are narcissistic women as well, but narcissism is found more in men. And narcissistic people, since they care about how they are seen, they also care about the partner they choose for themselves. Because they like to be seen as amazing, they also need an impressive partner by their side. So they're impressive either by looks, like their partner is very pretty or very handsome, or by status or achievement. So they would brag about them to people to show that my partner is amazing, but again, not as amazing as me. So if the attention goes to the partner, they tend to bring it back to themselves. And again, they put them down back at home so that their partner know that I am still the best. Don't forget that. And this is very confusing to the victims of narcissism. Like they would think, he did talk about me and show me off and gave me compliments in front of people, so he knows my value and how amazing I am. But the thing is, those victims don't notice that the narcissist only does this when it serves him as well, whether directly or indirectly. Because yes, 5, they are manipulative. They use everyone around them for their benefit. And I don't care that they do that. They can manipulate and lie to the degree that you start questioning yourself and what's true. You're not sure what's real anymore. And that's called gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where someone makes you doubt your own perception, memory, or sanity, often to gain control or avoid responsibility. Victims of narcissism don't see the narcissism for the longest of time because the narcissist intentionally makes you feel that they are your entire world. They slowly take you away from your friends, maybe even your family, and they feed you lies and convince you of them because they're very smart and make you feel like you are nothing without them, that you can't do anything without them. Meanwhile, many times, the opposite is true. They can't do anything without you. They rely on you greatly. And even in many cases, they rely on you to provide. And they do the minimum, convincing you that they are doing a lot. And if you, at one point, wake up to it, and you're finally no longer under their spell, they try many different things to get you back, including going into victim mode, trying to make you feel guilty, showing you a lot of love, trying to convince you that they will change, or even attacking you, whether verbally or physically, to make you back down. I will talk more about this under manipulation. Now, number 6, another thing that they do is love bombing. This usually happens at the beginning of the relationship. They show you a lot of love. They make big gestures. They make you feel super special, show you love like you've never seen it before. And you feel lucky to have them, and you're surprised that such people still exist. But this phase is short-lived. Then the controlling phase comes in. But because you've seen the good side, the loving side, you believe that it's there. And you keep making excuses for him, like he's going through a tough time right now, he's stressed, and so on, hoping that he will come back to himself, that self that you first knew, not knowing that that was just a strategy to get you. And by the way, I'm saying these things and like they seem obvious to see or to spot as I'm saying them. And maybe they're easy for you to see now after you've been through such a relationship. So now you can see it clearly. But during the relationship, it's very difficult to see. You're just in love, blinded by it, or you simply don't know about these strategies or aren't aware of narcissism. And I would even say that even if you're aware, it's still very difficult to tell, especially before you get married. Because again, you don't want to misjudge people. So yes, it's really tough. Number 7, other than love bombing and gaslighting, there are many manipulation techniques a narcissist might use. I'll be reading some of them from the book Surrounded by Narcissists by Thomas Erikson. In the chapter titled Manipulation, he starts it with a quote from Who's Pulling Your Strings that says, "If you are an approval addict, your behavior is as easy to control as that of any other junkie. All a manipulator needs to do is a simple 2-step process. 1, give you what you crave, and 2, threaten to take it away." I wanted to share this because, I feel it's so powerful. It wakes you up to how easily we can get manipulated. But yalla, let me go back to some of the techniques he mentions. 1 is smoke screens. He says that this manipulation technique aims to confuse you. A skilled manipulator can say just about anything to get you off guard. The objective here is to shift the focus from the genuine issue to a discussion about some serious flaw of yours. To get there, they'll have to push some of your emotional buttons. 2 is feign intimacy. Early on in the relationship, the narcissist reveals intimate details about themselves, which will probably turn out to be fabricated. This inspires you to share things about yourself, and these admissions will eventually be weaponized and turned against you. 3 is guilt tripping. The narcissist finds ways of blaming everything that isn't frictionless in your relationship on you. Then we've got indirect insults. These are more or less subtle disses concealed behind a layer of feigned benevolence, like saying, "I like it when you wear that dress. It makes you look so slim." Then we've got insinuations. This is the use of statements so ambiguous, it's hard to determine what's being said. Then there's vacuous statements. Narcissists put no weight on anything they say. They might say anything that seems appropriate to them in the moment. For example, "I love you." It might give you a moment's relief, but it won't really mean anything. Narcissists aren't capable of love. Okay, this is him writing this. I'm just reading from his book, all right? Then there's minimization. The narcissist convinces you that what they did wasn't really so bad. Like, what? Doesn't everyone do that? Next is condescension. This is a classic gambit, which involves downplaying every opinion, emotion, or experience you give voice to. For example, "You really shouldn't be feeling that way. You're kidding, right? Surely that was no big deal." Then there's charm. Narcissists will often seek to win you over with charm first. They don't often start out insulting you. That approach hasn't worked too well for them in the past. You'll be told things nobody has ever said to you before. And honestly, who wouldn't enjoy being swept off their feet by a load of lovely compliments? Then there is deliberate forgetfulness. Narcissists forget to go shopping before dinner even though they promised they would. Or they forget your anniversary. Or they forget to call you back from their hotel room. Next is rage. So shouting and screaming to get you to back down if you object somehow to the narcissist's bizarre behavior. Then there's the victim card. This is one of the major strategies. Narcissists are capable of some degree of self-pity, and they can play victim, like, "I knew nobody would want me on their team. Of course, why would a bore like myself expect anything else? I'll go alone then, I suppose." Then there's rationalization. This is a common defense mechanism, only applied deliberately in this context. It involves giving logical reasons for illogical actions. For example, I'm sorry I hit you. I just got so mad when you provoked me. Or, I know I shouldn't drive when I've been drinking, but I wanted so badly to get back home to you quickly. And finally, there's flattery, which doesn't need an explanation. So I'll stop reading here. These were manipulation methods Thomas has written in his book. There's, of course, a lot more beneficial information in there. So if you're interested in knowing more, please do get his book. And there's a lot of other books that are beneficial on narcissism. And now let me get back to the final trait I'm going to talk about today. So number 8, no empathy. As by the definition, they lack empathy. They don't feel with others. They don't consider others when they make decisions. They think of what's best for them, and if that hurts you or isn't for your best, they don't care. It's not their problem. It's yours. And their victims tend to be highly empathetic, because highly empathetic people will constantly try to understand them and make excuses for them. They think they did this because they are hurt, because they are insecure, because of their childhood, because their mom used to treat them this way, because they didn't have a present father, because and because. And highly empathetic people, especially if they love someone, and yes, narcissistic people are very lovable, they have their qualities, they have their perks. And they most probably won't have all these qualities that I've mentioned here. They might have some of them or a lot of them, but not all. Now, some do have all, but shit. If they do, then run. That would be a very tough person to be around. But generally, they are still lovable because they are also charismatic and do some nice things and have good qualities. So empathetic people would want to help them become better or go back to that person they first showed up as, or help them improve because they see their potential and understand what they have been through. But hate to break it to you, most narcissistic people don't change. Especially if they don't see that they are narcissistic, that's first of all. And if they did admit their narcissistic behavior, in order to stay, they might tell you that they will change, but this is just to manipulate you into giving them a chance. And they might change for a while to make you believe it, but they will come back to their narcissistic traits. So the question is, can narcissists change? Most sources will tell you that they won't. I will add to this saying that we can't change anyone, whether narcissistic or not. Even if you nicely inform your partner or friend or relative that they are exhibiting narcissistic behavior to raise their awareness on the matter, because yes, some don't know that they are doing all this and that this is considered narcissistic behavior. They subconsciously do it because it has proven to work before. It could be because this is how they survived before, or this is how they get their way, so they just automatically do it. It's not on purpose. But once they realize it and admit it, and of course they would only admit it if they are not so high on the spectrum of narcissism, but also be aware they might admit it as part of their manipulative games because it might benefit them somehow. I know it's tough to keep track of all of this, but anyway, if they decide to work on it, they would. And they would only work on it when they see it negatively affecting their life. But again, not all will go through with it, because as I've said previously in previous episodes, change is very difficult and it needs a lot of effort and patience with oneself. So at one point, they will tell themselves that they are great and they don't need to do all this work because they think so highly of themselves. So they would stop. But listen, if you're listening to this and you see some narcissistic traits in yourself and you want to work on yourself because you understand how detrimental these traits are to your relationships, whether in your personal life or your work one, then you absolutely can work on yourself. It won't be easy, but it's also not impossible. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Showing vulnerability shows strength, not weakness. So ask for help and work on yourself to have healthier relationships that highly influence your happiness. And if you're listening and you feel that your partner or friend or relative is exhibiting narcissistic behavior, then the next episode is for you. I'll be talking about different ways you can use to protect yourself from their influence. That's it for me today. I hope that this episode clarifies the difference between narcissism and NPD and made you recognize the narcissist in your life. See you next time.